The doors of the Oak Ridge Police Department slammed open, like they'd been kicked by fate itself. A German shepherd mudcake, blood-soaked, panting like he'd just outrun hell, collapsed onto the linoleum floor. Strapped to his back with ripped fabric was the motionless body of a little girl. Her hair was matted with blood and dirt. Her face was pale, her arms limp. "Jesus Christ," Deputy Larson muttered, already racing forward. The dog snarled weakly, warning him not to touch. Even on the brink of collapse, it was still guarding her. Sheriff Mason Cooper rose from his desk, a chill running down his spine. "That's Jack Mitchell's girl," he said. "Emma, 8 years old, been missing 72 hours. And the dog?" Larson asked, dropping to his knees as paramedics rushed in. Cooper didn't need to think. "That's Hunter." Time slowed as they cut Emma free and began administering first aid. The dog's amber eyes never left her face, not even as blood pooled around his paws, not even as his breathing went ragged. 3 tranquilizer darts hadn't stopped him. God only knows what he'd pushed through to bring that girl home. The room fell silent when a woman in a black suit stepped in, shaking off her raincoat. Her badge glinted beneath her FBI windbreaker. Agent Cassidy Reynolds took one look at the dog and whispered, "He's trying to tell us something." And with that, Hunter did the impossible. He stood again. He turned toward the door, his body trembling with pain, and looked back with an expression that was unmistakable, even to skeptics. "Follow me." Hunter wasn't just a dog, not to the Mitchells, not to Oak Ridge, and definitely not to Emma. He'd been rescued from a shelter 3 years ago, a grizzled, silent German shepherd with a notch in his ear and scars running across his flank like some old warrior. They said he was 5, but he looked older, like he'd already seen more than most living things should. Jack Mitchell didn't want him. He barely wanted anything at that point. His wife, Sarah, had been murdered in their own home, and Jack, once a respected former Marine turned contractor, had drowned in grief, traded war medals for whiskey, lost himself in a fog of silence and guilt. He only agreed to keep the dog because Emma refused to leave the shelter without him. She'd walk straight past the puppies and lapdogs and knelt in front of the battered shepherd like she already knew him. "This one," she said, "his eyes are sad like mine." So Hunter stayed. They became inseparable. Emma told secrets to him no one else knew. She brushed the dust from his coat and whispered stories to him in bed. And when the nightmares came, screaming memories of the night her mother died, he was always there. At first, Jack avoided both of them. The dog was a reminder of Sarah. After all, Hunter had been her dog before the murder, the only survivor. He tried to protect her and failed. In Jack's drunken spiral, that failure had been unforgivable. He dumped the dog at the shelter out of blind rage. It was Emma who brought him back. It was Hunter who never left again. The morning Emma disappeared started like any other Tuesday. Jack dropped her off at school with a rush kiss and the usual promise. "See you at 3?" Hunter sat in the back of the truck, tail wagging, eyes locked on Emma as she waved goodbye. "She loves that dog more than anything," Mrs. Winters, her teacher, would later say. You could see it. She didn't trust many people, but that dog, that was her whole world. At 3:15, Jack returned to pick her up. The schoolyard was empty. "No, Emma." She was picked up early, the front office told him. Said there was a family emergency. "Wasn't that you?" Jack felt the ground tilt beneath him. No one else is supposed to pick her up. Within an hour, Sheriff Cooper had search teams combing the woods. By nightfall, the FBI was involved, and Hunter was restless, pacing, barking, trying to drag Jack toward the trees behind the school. Jack yanked him back, yelling, "Get together," as if the dog were just being difficult. "He's picking up on something," Agent Reynolds had said. Cooper waved her off. "We've got trained K-9 units. We don't need a pet with PTSD." So Jack locked him in the laundry room. That night, Hunter howled so loud the neighbors closed their windows. Take a moment to subscribe to Heroes for Animals for more true stories of courage, loyalty, and the animals who fight for us when no one else will. This is just the beginning. By the time Jack returned home after midnight, Emma's still missing, the search yielding nothing but shadows. He was unraveling wet cold angry at the world. He opened the laundry room door. Hunter didn't bolt toward food or water. He went straight to the study, Sarah's old office, a room Jack hadn't opened since the murder. The shepherd clawed at the door, whining, pawing. Jack snapped, "What is wrong with you?" In his frustration, he knocked over a bottle of whiskey. The scent filled the room. Hunter backed away, but didn't break eye contact. Jack stared into those amber eyes and saw something he hadn't seen in a long time. Not fear, not defiance, just quiet disappointment. Just as Jack was about to lash out again, his phone rang. "Agent Reynolds, we found her backpack," she said. "Miller's Creek." There are signs of a struggle. When Jack turned back, the front door was swinging open. Hunter was gone. By dawn, Hunter had already covered 15 miles on torn paws. He'd crossed creeks, braved thorn-covered hills, and sniffed through every dead end the world could throw at him. His nose led him beyond the familiar trails of Oak Ridge into a place locals called Devil's Backbone, a place of old caves, forgotten mining roads, and ghost stories told at bonfires. That night, hidden beneath logs and branches, he found a bunker. He found her, Emma. She was inside, crying, terrified, but alive. Hunter couldn't reach her through the heavy metal door, but he could press his muzzle to the bottom gap. "Hunter," her voice was weak, "I knew you'd find me." She told him everything in whispers. The smell of cologne, the man who hurt her mom, the window that was too high, the plan to move her that night. Hunter growled. And then, without hesitation, he vanished into the dark, crawling through a ventilation shaft barely wide enough for his body. Somewhere down the hall, a guard muttered, "Blackwood wants her gone by midnight." Back at the police station, Agent Reynolds stared at a blinking dot on the map, a new ping from Hunter's microchip, the one she'd activated without telling anyone. She looked at Cooper. He found her. Emma's fingers reached through the small gap under the metal door, trembling, filthy, and bleeding. On the other side, Hunter pressed his nose to the cold concrete, offering her the only comfort he could give. "I knew you'd find me," she whispered. Hunter whined low in his throat. The smell in that place was wrong. Damp concrete, cigarettes, gun oil, and beneath it all, that familiar chemical cologne, the one that lingered in Jack's house the night Sarah was murdered. Hunter hadn't forgotten. Neither had Emma. "They're moving me tonight," she said, her voice barely audible. "One of the men. He smells like the one who hurt Mom." Hunter's eyes narrowed, ears pivoting toward the approaching footsteps in the hall. Someone was coming. He slipped into the shadows just as the lock turned. A guard stepped inside, holding a tray. "Dinner time, princess," he said with a sneer. He didn't see the blur of muscle and fury until it was too late. Hunter launched himself in the shadows, jaws clamping down on the man's forearm. The tray clattered to the floor, food spilling across concrete. The man screamed, his hand reaching for the pistol at his belt. But Hunter had been trained for moments just like this. He didn't let go. Across town, Jack stood in his kitchen, staring at the broken whiskey bottle on the floor, the leash hanging from his hand, and the open door where Hunter had vanished. Rain at the windows like a war drum. His breath caught as he remembered that look in Hunter's eyes. Accusation, yes, but more than that, purpose. Jack picked up the phone. "Agent Reynolds," he said the moment she answered. "He's gone." In the bunker, chaos erupted. The guard staggered backward, slamming into the wall, trying to beat Hunter off. More shouts echoed through the corridor. Emma used the distraction to slip out of her room, barefoot, shivering. "This way," she whispered, leading Hunter toward the storage room she remembered from her first day in captivity. Inside was a narrow window, nearly 6 feet off the floor. Hunter paused beneath it. "You want me to climb on you?" The dog stood perfectly still. She scrambled up his back, using his shoulders for leverage, pushing herself up toward the tiny window. Her fingers found the latch. It creaked open. Cool air rushed in. She wriggled through the gap and dropped into the tall grass outside, heart pounding. "Come on, Hunter." But the shepherd stayed behind. The window was too small for his thick frame. Hunter barked once, soft, urgent. "They'll catch you," she said, tears running down her face. Hunter barked again, and then he turned to face the shouts echoing down the corridor. He was going to buy her time. Emma ran. She didn't look back, didn't slow down until she heard her name. Emma. She froze. That voice. She spun around. Out of the trees stepped Dr. Sarah Andrews, Oak Ridge's beloved veterinarian, still wearing her lab coat, her vet bag slung over her shoulder. Dr. Andrews, Emma gasped. Hunter found me. He's still in there. They're going to hurt him. Dr. Andrews held up a hand. It's okay, sweetheart. You're safe now. The woman knelt and began digging through her bag. Are you hurt? She asked. No, but Hunter, just let me check you, okay? Her smile didn't reach her eyes. Then Emma smelled it. Cologne. The same cologne? She backed away. You smell like them. Andrews froze. What did you say? You're one of them. Hunter's ears rang as another gunshot echoed through the bunker. His shoulder burned, but he was still standing. He'd drawn them away. But now, outside, Emma was alone with her. Just then, headlights cut through the trees. A voice shouted from behind, Emma? Jack Mitchell, soaked to the bone, sprinted through the mud with a gun in his hand. Behind him, Agent Reynolds and two armed FBI agents emerged. Hunter found me, Emma cried. He's still inside. Reynolds didn't hesitate. She raised her sidearm and pointed directly at Dr. Andrews. Hands in the air now. But it was too late. The woman had already reached into her bag. Hunter exploded from the tree-line, crashing into her like a meteor. The syringe flew from her hand. She hit the ground hard. Back in town, news spread fast. The Oak Ridge Sheriff's Department coordinated a full raid of the bunker. Dozens of agents swept the forest. Inside, they found evidence of a well-organized trafficking ring. But Blackwood, beloved philanthropist, youth center founder, was gone. So was his inner circle. Only the foot soldiers remained, bleeding, arrested, confused. Emma and Hunter were rushed to the hospital. She had minor scrapes. He was hanging by a thread. The waiting room of Oak Ridge Memorial was filled with silence. Jack sat in the corner, blood on his hands that wasn't his. Emma slept, curled on the seat beside him. A nurse had wrapped her in a warm blanket. Every few minutes, she stirred and whispered, Is Hunter okay? He's fighting, Jack would say, just like he always does. Inside the veterinary wing, Dr. Patel worked tirelessly. Hunter's injuries were critical. Lung damage, blood loss, internal bleeding. And still, he hadn't let go. He's not just surviving, the doctor murmured. He's choosing to. Hours later, Emma sat at Hunter's side, stroking the fur on his ear. He knew, she whispered. He always knew who hurt Mom. Jack looked at her. What do you mean? The man who took me. He wore the same cologne as a man who came to our house the night Mom died, and the same one Dr. Andrews wore. Jack felt the bottom drop out. Blackwood, he'd been there. He was the one. Hunter had smelled it all along. Agent Reynolds walked in, her arm in a sling. I need to speak to you privately, she said. Jack didn't want to leave Emma. Reynolds nodded to a nurse. She'll stay with her. Out in the hallway, Reynolds got to the point. It's bigger than we thought. Jack stared at her. Blackwood's been running this operation up and down the East Coast, using his youth programs to identify and groom kids. Sarah figured it out. Jack swallowed. My wife, she was an investigative journalist. Jack, she didn't just stumble on this. She was building a case. Jack stared into nothing, the puzzle pieces rearranging themselves. She said she was working on something, but never told me what. Reynolds placed a hand on his shoulder. She left behind more than you know. Later that night, Emma was finally asleep. Jack sat by Hunter's bed, whispering, You were trying to protect her that night. I know that now. Hunter didn't stir, but his heart monitor beeped steady. Jack laid his hand on the dog's side. You never gave up, even when I did. The next morning, Reynolds returned with news. Security footage from the station, she said. Something's wrong with Hunter's collar. It's thicker than it used to be. We think something might be inside. They retrieved it from storage. A forensic tech carefully cut it open. Inside, they found a small waterproof capsule. containing a micro SD card. Reynolds stared at it, almost reverently. Jackpot. As the agents rushed the evidence to secure a lab, Emma pulled Jack into the hospital garden for a short walk. Hunter, still bandaged, walked slowly beside them. He's looking for something, Emma said suddenly. See how his ears keep flicking? Jack watched. He's not just walking, he's scanning. Emma nodded. Mom said he could keep secrets. She said he could find treasure. Jack knelt down, his heart pounding. Treasure. She'd hide things in the yard and say, "Find the treasure, Hunter." Jack's breath caught. Emma, he said gently, "Did your mom ever hide anything in the pond behind our house?" Emma tilted her head. "I don't know, but Hunter would." Hunter's ears perked at Sarah's name. He was listening. Jack stood. "I need to make a call." The pond behind Jack Mitchell's house wasn't much to look at. A few cattails along the edge, a wooden bench half rotted from weather, and murky water that reflected nothing but gray sky and dead leaves. It was quiet. Too quiet, the kind of place grief settles into like silt. But that afternoon, something stirred beneath the surface. Hunter stood at the edge, eyes locked on the water, muscles tight despite the bandages on his side. Agent Reynolds crouched nearby, watching him. "You're really sure about this?" Jack gave a tight nod. "Emma said Sarah used to train him here, hide objects underwater, told him to find the treasure. Any idea what kind of evidence might be down there?" Jack's voice cracked. "If Sarah hid it, it's big and it's everything." Reynolds exhaled. "All right, let's see what this dog's got." Jack crouched beside the German shepherd and placed a hand on his soaked fur. "Okay, boy," he whispered. "This is the last thing she asked of you. Let's finish it." He looked Hunter in the eye. "Find the treasure." The dog didn't hesitate. Despite his injuries, despite the fatigue still weighing on his frame, Hunter stepped into the water like he'd done it 100 times. Within moments, he was swimming. He paddled toward the center of the pond, paused, and then dove. Emma watched from the safety of the car parked nearby, her hands pressed against the window. Dr. Patel sat beside her in the passenger seat, nervously watching the pond. "Is he going to be okay?" Emma asked. "He's doing what he was trained for," the doctor replied. "But he's pushing himself harder than any dog should, especially after what he's already been through." Back at the water's edge, the surface rippled, and then Hunter emerged, something clutched in his mouth. Jack ran forward and caught the dripping, mud-streaked object. It was a waterproof plastic case the size of a lunchbox. Hunter turned without fanfare and dove again. By the time he was done, he'd retrieved 5 identical cases. Then, finally, he staggered from the water and collapsed at Jack's feet. Reynolds called over her tech team immediately. Inside the first case were photographs, financial records, and a small voice recorder. Jack recognized the handwriting instantly. Sarah's. Reynolds held up a folder full of account transfers, company names, and real estate holdings. "This connects Blackwood to 3 offshore companies tied to child trafficking," she said, flipping to the pages, almost breathless. "Jack, this isn't just a case. This is a whole damn operation." Jack didn't speak. He was too busy kneeling next to Hunter, whispering, "Good boy. You did it. You really did it." That night, back at the safe house, Jack couldn't sleep. He sat at the kitchen table, one hand wrapped around a cup of black coffee, the other holding a sealed envelope he'd found in the last case, addressed simply, "For Jack." Sarah's handwriting. He'd know it anywhere. His fingers trembled as he opened it. Inside was a letter and a small flash drive. The letter was dated the week before her death. "Jack, if you're reading this, something has happened to me. Please know I did everything I could protect you and Emma, but Blackwood is dangerous. I got too close, and I knew my time was running out. I trained Hunter for this, for the day I couldn't be there. He's not just a dog. He's a safeguard, a courier, a soldier, but most of all, he's family. Trust him, even when you can't trust yourself. You're stronger than you think. I love you. I love our daughter. Keep her safe, and when the time is right, bury them with the truth. Sarah." Jack stared at the paper for a long time before folding it and pressing it to his chest. The next morning, Reynolds returned with news. Blackwood made contact. Jack stiffened. What? He's offering a trade, Emma's safety in exchange for the original evidence. He thinks we only have copies. He doesn't know we have the pawn cases. Jack clenched his jaw. He wants a meeting, doesn't he? Reynolds nodded. Tomorrow night, private location. You go alone. Jack stared out the window. It's a trap. Absolutely. But we'll be there. Meanwhile, back in town, the story had gone public. Local news stations were reporting a hero dog that had led the FBI to a criminal trafficking ring. The hospital was flooded with flowers and cards for Hunter. Strangers sent donations, toys, and dog treats. One card simply read, "Thank you for bringing her home." That evening, Jack took Emma for a walk around a farmhouse property. Hunter walked beside them, slower now, but stronger every day. "Daddy," Emma said, "do you think Mom's proud of him?" Jack looked down at the scarred German shepherd and then at his daughter. "I think she's proud of both of you." Emma stopped, eyes searching the horizon. She used to say Hunter could smell lies. Jack smiled. She wasn't wrong. Later, Reynolds reviewed the voice recording found in one of the waterproof cases. Sarah's voice, crisp and clear. "This is Sarah Mitchell. If you're hearing this, I've likely been killed. Thomas Blackwood is trafficking children through his charities. I have financial records, photographs, and personal testimony. I'm storing it in a place only my dog can access. I'm trusting him with everything. If you find this, don't let him walk away." Reynolds sat back in her chair. No jury in the country would let him go now. The night of the meeting arrived. Jack wore a hidden wire. Tactical teams were staged miles away. A drone tracked the area from above. The meeting place, an abandoned bar on the edge of an old tobacco field. When Jack entered, Blackwood was already there. Same tailored suit, same smug expression. "You look tired, Jack," he said, adjusting his cuffs. "You look like a man running out of road." Jack replied, "Do you have what I asked for?" Jack held up a briefcase, loaded with dummy files. "Where's my daughter?" Blackwood smiled. Then came the click of a gun. But before the shot could be fired, the barn's rafters lit up with red dots. Laser scopes, FBI. A voice thundered, "Drop your weapon." Blackwood froze. Seconds later, Reynolds stepped into the light. "End of the line, Thomas." He laughed bitterly. "Took you long enough." Back at the safe house, Jack returned to find Emma asleep on the couch. Hunter curled protectively beside her. He sat down on the floor next to them. "You did it, buddy," he whispered, scratching behind Hunter's ears. "You brought us home." The dog gave a quiet grunt and laid his head back down. 2 weeks later, the trial began. Blackwood pleaded not guilty. Didn't matter. The evidence Sarah had preserved, plus Dr. Andrews' full confession, sealed the case. He'd never see daylight again. The last time Jack visited Sarah's grave, he brought 2 things, Emma and Hunter. He placed Sarah's letter and a photo of the dog, taken the day Emma was rescued, on her headstone. Then he knelt and whispered. He kept his promise. Behind him, Emma placed a bouquet of lilies on the grave. "I miss you, Mommy," she said. "Hunter says hi." The farmhouse was quiet, too quiet. Jack had learned to fear that kind of silence, the kind that hangs heavy after the storm, but right before something worse. He sat on the couch, Emma asleep on his shoulder, her small hand curled into his flannel shirt. Across the room, Hunter lay on a thick blanket, bandages still wrapped around his torso, but his ears twitching, alert, even in rest. It had been a week since Blackwood's arrest. The case had exploded across national news. Sarah's name was in headlines. Hunter was called a miracle dog by anchors who didn't even know the half of it. And Jack had become something of a symbol, a father who lost everything and clawed his way back. But he wasn't thinking about the cameras or the trial. He was thinking about what Reynolds had told him earlier that day. "We think someone tipped Blackwood off before the raid." She'd said it had to be someone inside their system. And that meant one thing. They weren't safe yet. At 3:07 a.m., the glass in the back kitchen window shattered. Hunter's head shot up. Jack's eyes flew open. He didn't say a word. He scooped Emma into his arms and rolled off the couch, pressing her to the floor behind the armchair. She stirred but didn't scream. just like he'd trained her. Stay down, he whispered. Footsteps creaked across the porch. Slow, deliberate. Hunter let out a low growl, the kind that comes from deep in a dog's chest, a sound older than language, older than fear. Jack reached for his phone. No signal. The power had been cut. Then the front door swung open. Framed in the moonlight stood Thomas Blackwood, alive, free, and holding a gun. "Hello, Jack," he said casually, like he was stopping by for coffee. "You've got something that belongs to me." Jack's throat went dry. "You're supposed to be in custody." Blackwood smiled. "Money buys many things. Time, influence, silence. Sometimes it buys freedom." He stepped inside, the hardwood creaking under his boots. Beside him stood Dr. Sarah Andrews, pale, trembling, still clutching her vet bag like it could save her. Jack rose slowly, put himself between them and the couch where Hunter now stood, growling, his hackles up. "You're not taking her," Jack said. Blackwood didn't even blink. "The girl? Oh, Jack, I don't want her. I want what Sarah left behind." "You're too late. The FBI has it all." "Not all," Blackwood said, his tone tightening. "She kept backups, physical ones, and I think you know where they are." "You're wrong." "I don't think I am." Behind Jack, Emma peeked out. "Daddy." Blackwood's eyes lit up when he saw her. "You should have kept her hidden," he said, lifting the gun. Hunter moved so fast, even Jack didn't see it coming. One moment he was beside the couch. The next he was airborne, a mass of fur and fury. The gun went off. Hunter slammed into Blackwood, knocking him backward into the wall. The weapon skidded across the floor. Dr. Andrews screamed and dropped to her knees, clutching her stomach. Blood seeped through her fingers. Jack lunged for the gun, but Blackwood got to it first. They fought, fists, knees, elbows, years of rage behind every punch. Hunter, despite his reopened wounds, leapt again, locking his jaws around Blackwood's wrist just as the gun fired. The bullet missed Jack. Emma screamed. Hunter collapsed, blood spreading fast. Jack roared, slamming Blackwood to the ground. This time, he didn't hold back. A punch, then another and another, until Blackwood stopped moving, until silence returned. Only now it wasn't empty. It was full of something much worse. "Hunter," Emma sobbed, crawling toward the shepherd. "Please wake up." Jack knelt beside her. "He's breathing," he whispered, but barely. Sirens howled in the distance. Help was coming, but it might be too late. Hunter's breathing was shallow. His eyes fluttered. Blood soaked the bandages, the floor, Jack's hands. "You did good, boy," Jack whispered. "You saved us again." Hunter's tail thumped once, then stillness. "No!" Emma screamed. "Don't go." Jack wrapped his arms around her, both of them clinging to the dog that had carried their pain, their hope, their lives for years. The sirens got louder, closer, but not fast enough. 15 minutes later, the house was swarming. FBI agents cuffed Blackwood, barely conscious. Paramedics worked on Dr. Andrews. She would survive. Reynolds sprinted in, took one look at Hunter, and grabbed the radio. "We need a medevac. Animal trauma. Richmond, priority 1. The medic shook her head. "He's not stable enough to move." Emma wiped her tears and stood. "Yes, he is." The girl who'd once been silent now looked every adult in the eye. "My mom trained him for this. He's playing dead. He did it before. He's just waiting for it to be safe again." Everyone froze. Reynolds crouched beside her. "Emma, what did you say?" "He's not dying," she said. "He's hiding." Jack met the agent's eyes. "She's right." An hour later, a helicopter touched down. Hunter was loaded onto a gurney, IVs in both legs, blood pressure hanging by a thread. Emma refused to let go of his paw. In the air, she whispered to him, "You promised, Mom, you'd protect us. You kept your promise. Now let me keep mine. I'm going to get you home." At the Richmond Veterinary Trauma Center, the team was waiting. They had prepped an operating room, stocked canine blood, cleared every schedule. "He's critical," the lead surgeon said. "Multiple reopened wounds, lung damage. He's in shock." Can he make it? Jack asked. The doctor paused. If he wasn't the dog he is, I'd say no. Hours passed. The waiting room was silent, except for the hum of the vending machine and the beeping monitors in the back. Emma had fallen asleep in Jack's lap. Dr. Patel arrived with supplies. Reynolds brought updates. And then, finally, the surgeon stepped out. Jack stood. How is he? The man pulled off his gloves. He's alive. He made it through surgery. But the next 24 hours will be touch and go. Jack looked down at his daughter. Still asleep. She said he was playing dead, he whispered. She might have been right, the doctor replied. I've never seen anything like it. That night, they were allowed to see him. Hunter lay in a recovery kennel, hooked up to oxygen, wrapped in fresh gauze, his breathing steady but faint. Emma stepped in first. He opened his eyes just for her. Hi, buddy, she whispered. We're safe now. Hunter gave a soft whine. She knelt beside him, resting her hand on his head. I told you, she said. You're not done yet. Across town, the final pieces fell into place. With Dr. Andrews talking and Blackwood's confession secured, law enforcement raided dozens of facilities tied to the trafficking ring. Children were rescued, families reunited, and Sarah's evidence, every file, recording, and photo, was released to the public. She became a national hero. But for Jack and Emma, she was something even more powerful. The woman who planned for everything, the mother who prepared her daughter even in death, the wife who believed in a dog when no one else did. In the days that followed, Jack stood vigil beside Hunter's bed. When Hunter finally stood, wobbly, slow, but standing, the staff applauded when he barked again for the first time. Emma cried, not because she was scared, but because she knew the fight was over and they had won. The sun was rising over the Blue Ridge Hills when Hunter took his first unaided steps. His legs trembled, muscles weak, but he moved forward anyway, steady, determined. Jack stood beside the recovery kennel, a coffee cup in one hand, a leash in the other. Emma sat cross-legged on the floor, holding her breath. You're doing it, she whispered. Good boy. Hunter paused, looked at her, and let out a soft huff. It wasn't a bark, wasn't quite strength, but it was enough. Dr. Patel stepped forward quietly, observing the scene. He's healing faster than I expected. Strong will, strong heart. Jack gave a tired but grateful smile. He always had more heart than the rest of us combined. The world outside their small orbit kept turning. Blackwood was in federal custody now. No bond, no more influenced by silence. He'd be facing multiple life sentences. And with Sarah's evidence made public, there was no path back for him. Dr. Andrews remained in a medical holding facility, recovering from her injuries and awaiting trial. Her confession had filled in the final gaps. She'd known about the trafficking network, had chosen loyalty over morality, but in the end, she'd flinched, and that hesitation had saved Emma's life. Reynolds had told Jack quietly, there's a very slim chance she might get some leniency, not forgiveness, but maybe redemption. Jack didn't have the energy to care. All that mattered now was what came next. A few days later, Jack was packing a small overnight bag when one of the hospital nurses approached him in the hallway. Mr. Mitchell, we found something. She held out a simple wooden box. Old, smooth, handcrafted. It was under Hunter's bed. The FBI team found it when they were collecting evidence from your house. Carved on the lid in delicate cursive were the words, for Jack, Sarah's handwriting. Jack's chest tightened as he reached for the box. Inside were two things, a sealed envelope and a small voice recorder. His hands shook as he sat down in the waiting room. Emma and Hunter were still napping in the ICU. For once, the world was quiet. He pressed play. Sarah's voice came through, soft but unwavering. Jack, if you're hearing this, something has happened to me. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you everything while I was alive. I thought I had more time. I thought I was being careful enough. But I also knew that if anything ever happened, I'd need you to finish what I started. Jack leaned forward, elbows on his knees, eyes stinging. You always told me you weren't good with feelings, but you were wrong. You loved hard. You just didn't know how to show it sometimes. That's why I trained Hunter. not just to protect Emma, but to guide you back if you got lost. There's a light in you, Jack. I saw it the first time you walked into my life with that crooked smile and the loudest laugh in the room. Don't let my death turn that light off. Don't get to grief or guilt. You're still her father. You're still you. Jack felt like the floor beneath him had dropped away. Sarah's voice, after all this time, still held that calm strength, that unwavering faith in him, even when he couldn't believe in himself. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to show up, love her, and when she asks questions about me, don't make me a ghost. Make me real. And trust the dog, Jack. He's smarter than all of us. There was a pause. Then, I love you. I always have. I always will. Keep going. She needs you, and so do I. The tape ended with a quiet click. Jack didn't move, didn't speak. He just sat there, staring at the wall, holding on to her voice like it was a lifeline. That night, he read the letter aloud to Emma. She cried. So, did he? And Hunter, lying at their feet, let out a long, contented sigh. It was a sound of peace. Weeks passed. Hunter was discharged from the trauma center with instructions for light walking, plenty of rest, and follow-up checkups. But no one could stop him from doing what he wanted, staying close to Emma's side at all times. They returned to Oak Ridge quietly. The house still smelled like memory, but it no longer felt haunted. Jack spent a few days clearing out Sarah's office, not erasing her, but bringing her into the light. He framed her journalism awards and placed a photo of her with Emma on the mantle. He replaced the dusty liquor bottles with books. And every evening he cooked dinner, even if it was just grilled cheese, and the three of them sat at the table like a family again. Hunter got his own chair, of course. One morning, as the first snow of the season dusted the back porch, Jack found Emma standing by the sliding glass door in her pajamas. She was watching the pond, Hunter sitting beside her, his tail swaying lazily, thinking. Jack asked, handing her a cup of hot chocolate. She nodded, just remembering. Anything in particular? Emma took a sip, then looked up at him. Do you think Mom knew she was going to die? Jack hesitated. I think she knew the danger, but she hoped she could stop it in time. Emma was quiet for a moment. She didn't just leave evidence. She left instructions. Jack raised an eyebrow. She told Hunter what to do. She trusted him more than anyone, even more than you. Jack didn't take offense. He smiled. She was usually right. Later that week, Agent Reynolds stopped by. She looked different out of her FBI gear. More relaxed, still sharp, but human. She brought donuts and case updates. The files Sarah kept, they're leading to more arrests across the country. Her work is helping dismantle something a lot bigger than we imagined. She paused. She changed everything. Jack looked down at the recorder on the kitchen table. Yeah, she always did. As Reynolds was leaving, she knelt to scratch Hunter behind the ears. You did good, partner, she said softly. Hunter gave her a look that almost resembled pride. That Sunday, the three of them, Jack, Emma, and Hunter, visited Sarah's grave. There were fresh flowers already there, left by strangers. Emma added her own, a bundle of wild daisies wrapped in ribbon. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Jack took a deep breath. I used to come here and feel nothing but guilt, he said. I blamed myself. I blamed this dog. I shut down. He looked at Emma. But you brought me back. Then at Hunter. And you never gave up on me. Hunter didn't move. He didn't need to. Jack stepped forward, kneeling by the headstone. I promise you, Sarah, I'm going to raise her right. I'm going to give her the life you dreamed of, and when she asks about you, I'll tell her the truth, all of it, even the hard parts. Emma came beside him and rested her head on his shoulder. She already knows you were brave, Jack whispered. Now she'll know you were also brilliant and kind and funny and real. Hunter sat between them, silent but solid. The three of them, still here, still standing. Back at home, Emma pulled a worn notebook from her backpack and handed it to Jack. What's this? My story, she said. I'm writing it all down for other kids, so they know they're not alone. Jack opened the first page. In careful handwriting, it said, My name is Emma Mitchell. I was taken, but I was never truly lost because someone always believed in me, because a dog named Hunter never stopped looking, and because my mom left behind a map. This is our story. 1 year later. The farmhouse looked different, not just because of the new paint job or the vegetable garden Jack and Emma had planted together, not just because the porch now had a swing, but because the air felt different, lighter, like the weight of grief had finally started to lift one breath at a time. It had been 365 days since they brought Hunter home from the trauma center, since Jack opened Sarah's final message, since they chose to live, not just survive. And today wasn't just any day. Today was Hunter's retirement ceremony. The small-town firehouse had never seen such a crowd. Rows of folding chairs were filled with neighbors, reporters, kids with signs that read, "Thank you, Hunter," and even a few officers from the FBI. Jack adjusted his tie awkwardly at the podium while Emma stood beside him, proudly holding Hunter's leash. The German shepherd, now fully recovered, sat alert, chest puffed out, tail wagging gently. He wore a custom vest that read, "Retired, still a hero." Jack cleared his throat. "Folks, I'm not a man of many speeches, but today I've got to try." The room grew quiet. A year ago, I was lost. I was drowning in grief. And then everything changed, not just because a bad man was caught, but because a dog refused to give up, and because a little girl believed in both of us. He paused, looking at Emma. And because my wife left behind a legacy stronger than fear. There were a few sniffles in the room. Hunter didn't just save Emma. He saved me, too. And today we honor him, not just for what he did, but for what he gave back. Jack knelt beside the dog and removed the vest gently from a small wooden box. He pulled out a new tag engraved with a simple line, "Always faithful, forever family." He clipped it to Hunter's collar. "Welcome to retirement, buddy." The crowd erupted in applause. Hunter didn't bark. He didn't move. He just leaned into Jack's chest, closed his eyes, and sighed. After the ceremony, they returned home to a celebration of their own, just close friends, some cupcakes, a table full of old photos, and laughter. Laughter had been rare for so long. Now it flowed freely. Reynolds stayed late. She was moving to a new field office in Seattle, but had made the trip back for this day. "You ever think about writing it all down?" she asked Jack, sipping iced tea on the porch swing. He nodded toward the kitchen, where Emma was showing her homemade storybook to two other kids. "I don't need to. She already is." Reynolds smiled. "Then I think you'll be just fine." That night, after everyone had left and the stars took over the sky, Jack sat alone by the pond. Hunter lay beside him, head resting on Jack's boots. The water shimmered. The same pond where Sarah had hidden the truth, where a battered dog had once swum through pain to bring hope to the surface. Jack pulled out a letter, one last one he'd written that morning. He unfolded it slowly. "Sarah, you told me once that grief would either harden a person or crack them open. For a while, I let it harden me. I pushed people away. I pushed myself away. But you gave me a road back, through your voice, through Emma, through him. I wish you could see her now. Brave, funny, so much like you. It hurts sometimes, but in the best way. We're okay now, I think. No, I know. We're going to be okay. Thank you for never giving up on us. I'll carry you always, Jack." He folded the letter and dropped it into the water, where it floated briefly before sinking, like a promise absorbed into the earth. Over the following months, life kept moving. Emma started 4th grade. She joined the school newspaper and published her first piece, "How My Dog Saved the World and Me." Jack began volunteering at the local shelter, rehabbing troubled dogs just like Hunter had once been. They built a new fence, planted sunflowers, and adopted a rescue pup named Cody, a goofy lab mix with more energy than sense. Hunter approved. He spent his retirement sunbathing, patrolling the porch, and sometimes when the night was too quiet, curling up at the foot of Emma's bed, just like old times. On the anniversary of Sarah's passing, they held a small ceremony at the pond. No speeches, no tears, just music, candles, and stories. Emma read from her journal. "My mom used to say that love isn't something you lose. It's something you grow into. At first, I didn't understand that, but now I do. Because every time I look at Hunter, I see her love. Every time I laugh with Dad, I feel it. Love doesn't die. It just changes shape. Jack placed a small wooden carving by the bench, a German shepherd with angel wings, and beneath it a plaque, Sarah Mitchell, mother, wife, warrior. She lit the path. We followed the light. That evening, as they sat watching fireflies dance across the fields, Emma leaned against Jack. "Do you think Mom's proud of us?" Jack smiled. "I think she never stopped being proud." Hunter wagged his tail, as if to agree. Emma giggled. "And do you think Hunter knows he's a hero?" Jack ruffled the dog's fur. "I think he knows he's loved, and that's what matters most." One last thing before we end this story. Thank you for following this journey, from the first bark to final breath of peace, for believing in the bond between a girl, her dog, and a broken father who found healing in their love. This story wasn't just about danger or darkness. It was about endurance, loyalty, family, and hope. Now, we'd love to hear from you. What would you do if your dog tried to lead you somewhere? Would you follow them without question? Or have you ever had a pet that you swear understood you better than most people? Drop your answers below. We'll be reading them all. And if Hunter's story touched your heart, please share this video, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories like this one from all of us. Thank you,